So this involves the stochastics, and what we're looking for is a retracement on the stochastics before the stochastics continues on with the trend. And I'm pretty sure I have answered this a long time ago, but we couldn't find it in the videos. So, you know, those older videos, basically, the whole workshop was just one long video. So sometimes it can be hard to find, you know, each individual question within those older videos. So we're just going to answer this again, since even Shark Support couldn't find the video on this. And let me find an example. Perfect. Right here is an ideal example. Yeah, reaches 80. There. All right. So the question is finding these pullbacks here, right? So the stochastics needs to cross above 80, right, or below 20, and then basically, you know, reverse direction, or, you know, make a pullback in the stochastics, right? And this pullback needs to stay above the 50 level, right? So I put a white dashed line there on the 50 level. So as long as the stochastics, you know, as long as that pullback doesn't cross the 50 level, then if it reverses back towards the uptrend again, that's what we want to identify there, right? So so we'd be looking for, let's see, where would it be? Yeah, right there. So right where the stochastic inflects upwards again, that would be the signal there, right? So the two requirements are the stochastic needs to cross above 80 first, and then its pullback must stay above the 50 value. All right, that is it in a nutshell. Okay, let's get BloodHound open. And let's start a new logic template. Okay, so there's some kind of a name here. So if we're looking for stochastics 80-20 cross, and then a pullback, you know, before the pullback reaches 50. There. All right, so the first requirement, right, is we need that stochastics to cross 80 or 20. So we're going to need a couple of crossover solvers. All right, so there's the stochastics. And now for input B, that's going to be the 80 level. And so that, right, the 80 level is a fixed value. So we can now just put in 80 there in the fixed value type. Right, there we go. So we have, right, the cross above the 80 and the cross below and the cross above the 80, right? So for the 80, we're only interested in the cross above. So for the evaluate, we're going to set that to long only. So there we go. So now we're only seeing the cross ups of the 80 level, right? And then I'm going to go over to the solvers tab, make a copy of that, change it to 20, change the fixed value to 20, and then the evaluate, right, that's going to be short only, because we're only interested when the stochastic crosses below 20 and generates a short crossover signal, right? So there's that one. All right, so let's go to our existing nodes, and there's the stochastic 20 solver, right? And so we want to see both of these at the same time. There we go. So there's actually a 20 cross right there. So we want to see both of those. So we need an OR node to join those together. So now out of the OR node, we get both a short crossover and a long crossover, right, of two different values, right? So we have a crossover of a 20 value and an 80 value, right? So that's two solvers, and we join them together with the OR node. All right. Now, the next thing is we need to get this crossover extended forward all the way to the end of this pullback. Okay, so let's put a pin in that, and we'll get back to that in a minute. Let's take a look at this inflection point, right? So this pullback ends when the stochastic reverses back upwards, right, or reflects back up. So let's work on that first. So we need an inflection solver here. Let's connect that in. All right, so let's change our input to the stochastics indicator. All right, there we have it. There, I'm going to lock the scaling in there. There. Now, we're not, now we need to make sure that these, right, inflections upward, right, or these reversal upward is above the 50 value, right? Remember, that's one of the requirements, is that this pullback reversing back up, needs to stay above the 50 level. Right. So to do that, we're going to need a threshold solver here. All right, so we just simply need to know, is the stochastics above or below the 50 level? So there we have it. And so the thresholds that we're looking for is 50. So we're going to fill that into all of the thresholds, right? So for the long output, right, we're looking for, right, a value greater than 50. And for a short, right, less than 50. Sorry, there we go. Right, so there's basically our filtering there is whenever the stochastic is above 50, we're going to get a long output. And when that stochastic is below 50, we're going to get a short output. Right, so now we can take those inflection signals. Right, so if I connect that up, right, so we still have these reverse down short signals, right, above the 50 value, right? So we have the short there, and a short there, right, and the short there. So if we want to strip those out, we'll just connect the threshold solver in there, and there. So now we've kind of cleaned up the end of the pullback, right? So this reversal point here is potentially the end of the pullback. And yeah, there's another one right there. So yeah. And yeah, here we go. So here is right? The stochastic below the 20, right? And then we get a bunch of inflections, right, where the stochastic stays below the 50 value. So there. All right, so now this is when we now need to connect these two conditions together, right? So, oh, there we go. Get that connected in there. There we go. So, right, we have the initial stochastic crossing the 80 or the 20, and then we look for, or we wait for that pullback and look for that pullback to occur right above the 50 level, right? So we need to take the signal, right? We need to take this crossover. Oh, wrong one. I want the arrow. There we go. So we need to take this crossover signal and extend it forward to where the pullback ends and reverses back up. So to do that, we're going to use a signal extender. There. And what we need to do is guesstimate how many bars does it take, for the stochastic, to do its pullback and then reverse back up. How many bars can that possibly take? And who knows? It could possibly take 10 bars or more. Yeah, so there's 10 bars, and 10 bars is probably too much. At least, on this 8 range chart, it does look like 10 bars is too much. But I don't know, we'll leave it at 10 for now, and I'll dial it back if we need to. So the next thing is, let's see here. The next step is just connect that into the AND node. Basically, there we have it. However, we can see that we might sometimes get two signals here, right? So as the stochastic can basically reverse up, then we can see it has a minor pullback and then reverses back up again, right? So, if you're okay with seeing, these multiple pullbacks, then we're good to go. Let's go back here. Yeah, like here, right? The stochastic is just bouncing up and down. So we're getting a whole bunch of these pullbacks, right? And then a reversal back in the trend direction. So if we want to clean that up, what we need to do is turn the signal extender off. And we can do that. Let's see, we can do that, by simply using the inflection solver here. There. Right. So when we get this first pullback signal here, right, we can use that inflection, that short signal there, to turn the signal extender off. So we can connect this into the reset. And then I have to look at the signal extender and open up the reset section. And let's see, the one we want is already turned on by default. So actually, I didn't have to change anything. So we can see the reset signal is already set to true by default. And if, let's see, one last thing. If you notice, right, the first signal got killed. Well, that's because the inflection is turning the signal extender off on the bar where the signal is that we want. So we need to delay the inflection solver's signal by 1 bar. We need to delay this by 1 bar. We can do that by using a look back. I can connect that in and connect that in. And for the look back, what we're using is the displacement function. So I'll rename this to 1. Right? So we're using this displacement function to delay the inflection signal by 1 bar. Right? So if we look, if we look at the inflection solver, right, the short signal is right there where I put the little diamond. But if we look at the signals coming out of the look back, right, we can see everything's been shifted over by 1 bar. Right? So that short signal has been delayed by 1 bar. So it's turning our signal extender off 1 bar afterwards. So if we look at that, right? So looking at our signal extender, right? The signal extender turns on when the stochastic crosses below 20, and then the signal extender gets turned off after, right, the bar after the inflection occurs, the inflection point of the stochastic. So there we have it, simply put. Yep. And let's see, let's take a look. Yeah, so what happened here is, right, the stochastic crosses above 20 and then crosses down below 20 again. And so it starts the process over again. Right? So this is just a very simplistic pullback without any other further filtering. Let's take a look at this one. There we go. Yep. So there's that nice clean one right there. Let's see if we have any others. Yeah, there we go. There's another one right there. There we go. There's 2 more there. All right. Well, that does it.